Thank you everyone for joining. Welcome to our second session in our short series around OPC. So yeah, this week our session is going to be focused on project management, including planning, scheduling and risk as well. So yeah, we just got a couple of housekeeping items to go through just before we start, just to make sure everything goes smoothly. So please can I just ask that you do make sure that you're on mute and your video is switched off for the presentation. Questions, please just ask these in the meeting chat tool just as we go along. We'll look to answer these at the end, or perhaps email the list of answers out, depending on how long we've got left. And yeah, of course, we'll ask for some feedback from you too. So please do let us know how you found the session, so we can keep improving for next time. So yeah, next, just a quick introduction to your presenter for today. So you may remember him from last week if you joined. It's our very own Nitin. So yeah, Nitin is one of our Primavera experts here at Hyde Park Solutions. He's accredited across all the Primavera systems. He has extensive experience in P6, Unifier, OPC and ACONX. So yeah, I mean, that's all from me really. Now I'll hand over to Nitin just to talk you through the tool in a little more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. So welcome everyone to session 2. And you can see the objective screen on my PC. And these are the things which we will see, and we will see how we can manage them in Primavera Cloud. Basically, how to build and schedule a project plan, manage resources, and then execute and monitor the project. Quickly, there are few overlapping topics like lean scheduling and resource analysis and few other things related to resources. So you can see a small disclaimer on few screens, and those topics we will be covering in upcoming sessions in detail. So you can see that these are the project lifecycle phases, and we will walk through these phases and see how Primavera Cloud can help us manage all these phases, different walks of project lifecycle phases. So let's get started. So basically, we will first see how to create a project, work breakdown structure, add activities, assign relationship to activities, manage calendars, and then schedule the project. So if you have attended the last session, by now you already know the different methods using which you can create a project. If not, I'll quickly cover them. So from here on, the way we will work is we will take the presentation as an indication of where we are in the application, and I'll switch between the application and the presentation, right, to show you the data that I have set up and to see how we can create things in Primavera Cloud. So if I switch over to Primavera Cloud, so let me click on Oracle. So once you do that, this is the landing page. So once you log into the application, this is the landing page, and then you have something called Object Selector. So Object Selector allows you to select different objects. So what are objects? Projects, portfolios, program, workspaces, ideas. So these are considered as objects. So to create a project, you can click on project, you can see the existing projects, but you can either add a new project by clicking on this particular icon, or just go to view all projects. So projects can be added in multiple ways in Primavera Cloud. It can start with an idea. Idea can be proposed as a proposal. Once proposal gets approved, it becomes a project. So we covered the portfolio management side of this application last week. But here to create a project is fairly simple. You just have to click on project and it opens up a page Simple, very simple to enter information. You can choose a project name, ID, description. Important thing is you have to choose a workspace. So it says, this is good to note that projects cannot be created directly under the root workspace, which is corporate. So you can choose any other workspace. For example, today we are working in OPC campaign workspace. So you can select that particular workspace and that will remove the error message. Apart from that, you have options where you can choose to create a project from an existing project or a template, just like P6. So this is the same option. You can choose a date and other related things. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on how to create a project. I'm sure it's pretty straightforward. You have different steps here, step 1, 2, 3. Assign the user groups, permissions. If you are working with partner companies, you can create those partner companies under global admin. It's a administration module in Primavera Cloud, and then you can add them here if they will collaborate with you on certain projects. And then finally you summarize. Summarize is basically you will see what information you have added from step 1 to 4. And if you are okay with that, you just hit the finish button. And that's how you create a project. So for today's demo, I have already created a project. So let me show you how you open a project and how does a project landing page looks like. So you can just X out of it. Let's go to object selector. So this is the project, facility construction. So this is the landing page of the project. You can see project home. I have created this project, so it's my name that displays here. And you have the planned start and finish date, right? Then moving on to the next to add. So another thing to notice here is that these are the apps which are available at the project level. So based on what object you're working on, there are specific applications or apps, which will help you manage your project. And if you want to hide these, you have option here. You can hide them, hide all. You can set a predefined set of apps based on what apps you want to use inside your project. And some of them also depend on the license that you have opted for. So this is just FYI. Now, moving to the next. So we will primarily work in this particular app today, which is the schedule app. And to create WBS, just have to go to WBS. So I have created few WBSs here: engineering, construction, testing, and commissioning handover. To add a WBS, it's fairly simple. Just click on this, enter the name, and it automatically gets saved once you enter information. But if you want to delete it, click on this context menu, just say delete. And again, it saves itself automatically. So once you have added the WBS, the next step is to add activities. So again, this is the activities page. And there are different views on this page, right? So you can call them layout. So right now what you see, if you want to see the grid view, just click on grid. It's just straightforward information. And other views are the Gantt view, the standard view. And then you also have activity network view. I mean, if you have a very detailed schedule and you want to very closely look at the relationships between activities and and the Gantt chart is so complex to make that out. So you can come to this view. This provides you a better visual view of the activities. So this is the activity network view. And then you can go back to, let's go back to the grid view. So here to add activities, again, it's fairly simple. You just have to, you can just double click over here or click on the add button to add activity. This is how you delete it if you don't need it. So it automatically gets saved. So there is a tricky part on few pages in Primavera Cloud, you will see this tick icon. So if this icon is available, that means information on that page gets saved automatically. If it is not, there will be a small save or cancel option. So you have to choose from that. So you just have to ensure that you notice that whenever you're working on a particular page until you get used to. So you add activities here, and if I select a particular activity, just like P6, so you have the activity details window at the bottom. You have the tabs available. You can choose the type of activity, the duration type. So it's very similar to P6. And there are other tabs here in the activity details window, status, resource assignment, and you can control it by this context menu on the activity details tab. You can choose what you want to see and what you don't want to see. And the next thing is to assign relationships. So here is this tab. You can see that relationships are already assigned for some of the activities. To assign relationship, you can just click on assign, and that opens this window on the right side, and you just can select a particular activity, select the successor of that activity, and without closing it or selecting again and again different activities, you can make that selection, and once you are done, you can just close it. So you can use this option. There are other ways to assign relationship as well. You can select, you can just hold the shift. You can select a particular activity, hold the shift on your keyboard, right click, and you can just say link 3 activities. The default relationship is finish to start. But if you want to make changes, you can then go to individual activities and make the changes in terms of relationship. So that's how you assign relationships. And there are other options, useful options available as well, like cut, copy, paste, right? So you can make use of them as well. So let's go back to the presentation. We have seen how to create a project, work breakdown structure, add activities, relationship, manage calendars. Let's see how to manage calendars and schedule the project. So what I find very simple is that you can just pull in. So when you create a project, there is a project calendar already selected, right? So what you can do is you can also add a column here. And if you want to make specific changes to activities based on, if you want to choose a resource calendar or any other custom calendar for a bunch of activities, you can pull this column here. And the way you can do that is just click on this banner icon. And so here you can, there are a lot of columns available, plus you can add custom fields as well. Your UTFs and configured fields is what we call in Primavera Cloud. You can configure them and can use them here to filter information. And you can add calendar here, which I have already added. There are other standard options available. If you want to apply filters, like for example, you want to add filter for critical activities, you want to group them. So right now the grouping is based on the WBS. And then sort them. You can go to bars if you want to add additional bars. Right now the bar that we have is for the original baseline. You can have current, you can define multiple baselines, which we will see how we define baselines. And then you can assign bars for those baselines to monitor the performance of your schedule. And then there are options related to Gantt chart. network settings, currency, and formatting. Okay, so managing calendars. So you can add this option and you can manage calendars. Now, where are calendars stored? Calendars, you can store calendars at the workspace level. Let me just go back and move slowly. So at the very bottom, you have this option called summary and settings. So this summary and settings is for this particular project. So when you click on it, so it shows you settings related to this project. You can expand the dictionary. So you can create project calendars at this level. That is one option. Or you can have your calendars defined at a higher level, which is your workspace. So if I click on workspace, so workspace is very similar to EPS, if not exactly, but here in Primavera Cloud, you can do a lot of additional things with the workspace. You can have settings and data defined at a workspace level, and the child workspaces and the projects will inherit information from the parent workspace. So you can define that kind of information at the workspace level. So here, for example, we have calendars. So you can define different calendars here. And right now, the default calendar is the one which is used when you create a new project. But yeah, here is where you can add calendars. The functionality is very similar to P6, the way you add things. So just to note, define it at the workspace level or the project level. Another thing which, and the next thing is to schedule a project. I mean, that's fairly simple. You have this button here. Click on schedule. You can choose the data date. You can click this option if you want to see the scheduling log. There are other options here. So these are default. You can choose what kind of logic you want to use, retained, progress override, or actual. How will you calculate your total float? You can choose. So these are the settings, which are again similar to P6, but yeah, you can make changes to these settings if you want to manage your projects differently. And then you have this multiple float paths based on how you want to calculate your, calculate multiple paths using free float or total float. So to schedule, you just have to click on schedule, and we have enabled this option called display scheduling log. So the job runs in the background. And now you can see here, you have the project. You can see the scheduler settings, statistics, and if there are any errors, you can see them under warnings and other things. So here it says activities with no successor 1. So it's a milestone activity. Predecessor, it's another milestone activity. So this is how you can schedule the project. Now going back to the next slide, assign resources and roles. So let's see how you can do that. You have another app called resources. So you can add roles under role list. So if I click on role list, so here you can define. So again, these things can be defined at the workspace level and can be, you can click on assign if you want to bring them here. And similarly, you can assign resources. Whenever you add a particular resource, you can define the availability rates codes. If you want to add some resource codes to identify resources, you can assign roles to these resources. So that's about resources. And then obviously we have to go to activities. We can select a particular activity. For example, civil drawings preparation. and go to resource assignments and assign the resources. The next is create cost breakdown structure and add budget items. So Primavera Cloud also comes with the cost and funds app. So here, what you can do is you can first define your cost sheet. So right now you can see this is a simple cost sheet, and you can break down the cost code into multiple different segments based on how it works in your organization. So this is the cost sheet. And then what you can do is you can go back to this app, go to budget. And here you can define your initial budget. And later, if you feel like if there is a requirement to make changes, you have option to make the changes by clicking on changes. Either you can change the existing budget item, or you can add a new budget item. And the same applies to transfers. You can transfer, you can transfer funds from between the cost codes. So you can come to this particular app, which is costs and funds. If you want to see the cost sheet or play with budget or actuals, funds, and so all cost related things you can do under cost and funds. Then there is risk management. So let's see how you can add risk, run risk analysis, evaluate and create a response plan. And the engine that Primavera Cloud uses is Monte Carlo simulations for risk analysis. So there is another app called Risk. And let me first go to activities page. So you can manage two types of risks here. One is activity uncertainty. So you can choose, so you can create multiple layouts in order to do that. So here I have created a view, let's say activity uncertainty. And I have pulled in some columns like minimum duration, most likely duration, maximum duration. And right now, you can also see the planned and remaining duration. If it is the start of the project, they will be same. Now, once you add these columns, all you have to do is click on actions and say apply activity uncertainty. And then it will ask you to choose a distribution profile, whether triangle or uniform. So currently we have triangle, and you can enter the information for minimum, most likely, another duration, and you can just apply it. Once you do that, it will show you the results in the background. And later it will also allow you to make manual changes if you're not happy with the results. So this is how you apply activity uncertainty. And then to register project risks, you can go to the risk app, click on risk register. So this is risk register. You can add risks. You need to ensure that you design the risk matrix in advance and the threshold that you will use on this particular page. And that can be done at the workspace level. So that's a prerequisite. But once you have done that, so you can define the risks. And you can see here the pre-response probability for schedule, cost, and then you can also propose the response action. And then post-response probability, you can also update it, and it will generate a score. So you have the pre-response score and the post-response. Initially, it will be the same when you have not added any response action. So once you have done this, so there are three types of risks here. You can treat them as threats, opportunity, and weather. So, and you also have option to propose them if you want to send a particular risk to multiple people to review it before it actually becomes a risk. So you can propose risk as well. You can see the status column. And then you can run the risk analysis. There are advanced options. There's a lot of information. Actually, you can choose your iterations and the logic and where you want the threshold to converge and other things. So right now I have selected the custom, and what you see is response context is pre and post, and the analysis is for projects and all activities, and the maximum iterations is 1000, which can go up to 5000 based on the selections you make. So right now I'll just click on run risk analysis. So it will run in the background. And to see the results, you can click on the risk app and go to risk analysis. All right, so this here you can see the distribution results. So the finish, based on the finish date, you can see the statistics here, the probability for finish, probability, and a lot of other things you can see here, right? Along with that, this is the pre-response. If you want to see pre and post or just the post response, it will show you that information as well. Along with that, it will also show you cost related information, duration related, start date and finish date. And then you can also see the mean impact. So here you can see that the activity delay contribution. So there are risks associated to these activities. And since I have enabled this option, show contribution breakdown, it shows that how these risks will contribute towards the delay of this particular activity. Right now it says 71 days, for example, may fail to adhere to specifications and drawings. And once you have a mitigation plan in place, if you want to see post response, you can see that you have brought it down to 30 days. So you can use the mean impact chart to analyze risk. And then you have the risk removal impact as well, where you can see the pre and post response. And then going back to the risk register, there is option for charts. So here you can see the heat map and other things for the risk score, for the count, for the probability and impact diagram. So these are the features which are available in Primavera Cloud to manage risks. So moving on. So here, the first two topics on this slide we will be covering in upcoming session. So let's look at how to check schedule and optimize the schedule, and then see schedule scenario and set a baseline. So going back, if I go back to activities, so on this page, there is an option called Schedule Health Score, where my cursor is. When you click on it, it will show you. So this is based on industry-wide best practice. And you can choose what options you want to use, and you want to use them to evaluate your schedule. If you don't want to use few of them, there is a setting in the application and you can disable them. But here, for example, it says 96% is your health of the schedule. So if I click on it, it says open ends. So these two activities are open-ended because these are milestone activities. You can go back, you can click on anything which is marked as red. So here it says finish to start predecessor. So these are the activities. And then you can just click on that activity. And if you feel that there are things which you need to change, you can make those changes. So that's how you can use schedule health score. Then the next thing is optimize the schedule. I mean, this is a standard thing. I mean, as a part of change, if you want to add a particular constraint, for example, must finish by date, and then you want to see how it affects the float on your activities, and then you would want to refine durations or modify relationships or add resources to reduce the float on critical activities. So you can do those things as part of schedule optimization. The next is your use schedule scenarios. So this is nothing but your what if analysis, and that option is available here. So you can create different copies of your current schedule, which you can call as scenarios. And you can try different things before you apply those changes to your project. So you can add a scenario by clicking on this button, or you can click on manage scenarios if you have already created a scenario. So this is a straightforward thing for your what if analysis. And from this drop down, you can choose different views as well for the schedule. So if you want to see your original baseline, you can just click on it and it shows you your original baseline. So this is the original baseline. And you also have options to make, if you want to convert this baseline into a project or anything, you can do that. And if you want to go back, just click on current schedule. And to add a baseline, you just have to go to actions over here. And so right now you can see that the baselines are added. Okay. So for example, if I go to original baseline, so this is the original baseline. If I go to actions, I minimize this. So you can see here, set user baseline preferences. You can add multiple baselines here once you have created them. Another option is manage baselines. So here is where you actually add baselines. So right now we have 2 baselines. So similarly, you can add many different baselines and then can compare and contrast your schedule used on those baselines. So moving on, update the schedule. So update the schedule and enable resources to update activities. Let's look at these. So to update the schedule, first let's go back to the current schedule. So you have these options under Gantt setting called Progress Spotlight. I mean, it's the same. So this will basically tell you, this will basically list the activities on which you need to update in the current, let's say, period. And you can update these activities, you can start these activities, you can update the percentage complete on these activities. So that's basically your update. And this update can also be done through another option, which is called, if I click on this option here, there's something called My Activities. So once you go to activities, all the projects you have access to are listed here. We are today working in facility construction. Just I'll select it and click on apply. So these are the activities. And if I want, I can start a particular activity. Let's say I can start here. I can update the progress, let's say 50% complete, and then save. So this will update the information back in my project. So activities can be updated from my activities as well. Let's go back to the project. Then finally manage timesheet and enter actual cost. So let's see. So to manage timesheet, again, you can go over here. You have this option called timesheets. There are a few settings which you have to enable before you can use it. So that setting is basically apply actuals based on timesheets under summary and settings for the project. So here you can click on add. You can choose a particular range, a period, click on add. You can choose your name, select. So timesheets were successfully created. You can click on view details. And then here you have actions available here if you want to make changes to the timesheet, or you can just expand this. So here, this, for example, this is the project. You can select the project and you can add hours. So when you add hours, you can select the activities in that particular project. Like this, you can add hours. You can save this information and then you can just submit it. So submit it. So right now I'm the supervisor and I'm not added on this particular activity. So that's the reason I don't get this option to submit. But you can make settings where a particular resource can work as a resource assignment, as an owner, or both. So if that particular option is selected, so you can create the timesheet and send for approval. The actions for approve and submit are available on the timesheet page. And then finally, enter actual costs. So again, to enter actual costs, you can go back to the project. Go to this cost app, which is cost and funds. Go to actuals. You can add actuals here and you can confirm all. Once it is confirmed, you can see the changes under cost sheet. So if I go to cost sheet now, because there are actuals already, so that you can see the actuals are displayed in the cost sheet as well. So here is where you can track everything, your budget, your changes, your transfers, and your actuals. Finally, monitor the project. And so monitor is again, you can compare the schedules and other things. So let me quickly show you that particular option. So if you go to activities, there is something called schedule comparison. So here you can click on this option. You have current schedule. You can select past data, date, and time all the way till your project creation date. You can choose a particular baseline or a scenario that you have created. The same options you can choose in revised. So you can select one particular option here and the second option here, and then click on compare. And once you do that, it will give you the comparison between the two. You can see the original and revised in terms of different activities, the values which were changed. You can also see the same in the form of a Gantt chart. Over here, you can see the comparison. So that is what is comparison. And finally, track progress with the baseline. We have already seen that. So you can add multiple baselines and you can use the same comparison tool to see the changes and evaluate project costs. So we just saw the cost sheet where you can see the roll up from all the business process which are cost related, and you can add more columns as well if you want to evaluate the project cost. And then finally, you can also create many different views to cater to your requirements. So this is the last thing which we will see today. So for example, this is uncertainty view. If you want to see your earned value analysis, I've created another view for that. So you have all your schedule percent complete and performance percent complete in place. And similarly, you can also see estimate to complete or resource view, for example. So this is your resource view. You have the cost of planned labor, planned non-labor, and cost and the total cost. You can also add the actuals as your project progresses. So these are the topics which I wanted to cover today in terms of managing, monitoring, and executing the project, which you can do in Primavera Cloud. I know we have exceeded by 10 minutes, so again, I'm sorry for that, but that brings us to the end of today's session. So thank you for your time and patience.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nitin. Just to let you all know, we do have another session next week on resource management. So hopefully you did all enjoy this one, but please do let any of your colleagues or friends know about our upcoming sessions. And yeah, and we hope to see you all next week.